Hi guys, it's Mrs. Moss here, and today we're going to talk about plate tectonics. Now, this leads us from talking about earthquakes and the different levels of the earth. Today we're going to look mostly at the surface and what happens to our crust. Well, you know we have the oceanic crust and we have the continental crust, and you know that they sit upon the asthenosphere. Well, the Earth's lithosphere is actually fractured into several sections that are called plates, and these plates shift position in relation to one another. Here is a picture of the continents, and you can see in red is the outline of the actual plates that I was just talking about. So we're looking here how the oceanic and the continental crust is actually broken up not by continent but by plates. 200 to 250 million years ago, all of our continents were actually connected, and it was known to be one supercontinent called Pangaea. Let's look at a picture. This is a picture of the landforms 225 million years ago all together in one large landmass known as Pangaea. Well, this is a picture of our globe today, and as you can see, the more time goes on, the animation is connecting these land masses. And if you look, they actually kind of fit together. Well, that's how we're able to see that this must have all actually been connected at some point. And that's what we call Pangaea. So let's get into more of these evidences. Well, as you saw in this last animation, the appearance of the continents actually look like puzzles, right? If you look at the way they were formed, you can see South America kind of fits into Africa right here. Check this out. They kind of fit into one another, don't they? And let's see, Australia could have fit in here. So if you look, the continents do. Now, another way we know that the continents have moved and that they were once connected is because we have found fossils between continents, Africa and South America in particular. Now, the reason why this is so significant is if continents are separated the way they are today by oceans, then it wouldn't be logical that the same species of Mesosaurus or Sinoganthius wouldn't be on the two different continents because they wouldn't be able to swim between the oceans to get from one place to another. So it's logical that the continents were all together on one large landmass and that the species actually walked from one location to the other and then died and then became extinct and then the continents separated, and so now we have these fossil evidence on each different continent. This also happens with the species of plant known as Glossopteris. We have a similar finding with rock strata or rock layers and mountain chains, actually, that these mountain chains have the same layers of rocks on one continent as they do on the other. And they're actually located along the edges and the coastline, so it makes logical sense that they were once connected. The last evidence that we see is that some climatic events are shown, or there's proof that certain climatic events occurred in what we would never normally see them occurring. For example, we found glacial evidence of glaciers in Africa, which wouldn't really make sense if you know the climate of Africa, and coal in Antarctica. So because these evidences were found, we could safely say that the continents must have all been joined and have these climatic events occur, and then the continents separated to how we know they are today. So now, why are the continents moving? Well, let's talk about this a little more. We know that the top layer, the continental and oceanic crust, sit on the asthenosphere, right? So actually, we have seen that the sea floor is actually spreading, and that's known as a divergent plate boundary. And what happens is they create these mid-ocean ridges, and then in these ridges, magma rises up in between the two plates that are separating, and it cools to form new oceanic crust. How do we know this? Well, there's plenty of evidence that supports this. Oceanic crust is youngest at the mid-ocean ridges where the new oceanic crust is formed, and the crust gets progressively older as you move away in either direction from the ocean ridge. an exact age pattern. So let's look at what I'm talking about because it's much easier to explain it as we see a picture. So in this animation, we see this is actually the bottom of the sea floor, and it actually is two plates moving apart from one another. In the center, you see this magma rising up from the mid-ocean ridge that's being created. Now, as this magma here hardens and cools, it forms new land, new rock. So as that new rock continually forms, it pushes out the rock that was created previously. So as you go from either side of these ridges, the older rocks are on the outside of the ridges, and the younger rock is right here at the ridges. And you see there is a pattern in age from this side to this side as it got older as you go out from either direction. The other way we know that this is occurring is because the magnetic polarity is also showing a pattern on either side of the ridges. Now let's talk about magnetic polarity. Every 250,000 years or so, the Earth's magnetic field reverses. Oceanic crust on either side of the mid-ocean ridges show a matching pattern of normal or reversed magnetic polarity. Now, to best explain this is we know that there is a magnetic field that surrounds the Earth, and magnetic North Pole is currently now what we are aligned with. This is a picture of the magnetic field if it were drawn, right? So what happens over time is that they actually reverses itself, where the north is now on the bottom and the south is on the top. It's pretty cool. Let's check that out again. Here's the north and the south. The blue is on this bottom, the south. And over 250 years or million years or so, it will actually reverse. Now, how do we see that with seafloor spreading? Well, if we look at the seafloor as it spreads, we see that there are certain colors of reds and yellow in this diagram. These colors represent the magnetic field that is the minerals in that rock are aligning with. So the red is considered the normal field, and then after time it will reverse, and we will see rocks that have a south or reversal of the magnetic field. So the minerals that are in the rock as it's hardening and creating new rock actually have a different magnetic polarity as the neighboring rocks. And it creates a pattern similar to the way the age created a pattern. It creates a steady pattern on either side of the ridge. And that allows us to see that this has actually happened. And that's evidence that the seafloor is spreading. It's also evidence that the continents have moved over the years. So the magnetic minerals align themselves with the Earth's magnetic poles as they cool and harden from this mid-ocean ridge. And we're going to stop right here for the part one of plate tectonics. We'll talk more about the plates and how they move in our next couple of screencasts. So for now, just make sure you've gotten all the notes, and I'll see you next time.